Teacher shortages have been an issue we have really focused on a lot in this show, and we know that there are not enough teachers to fill classrooms. And one area that is really hard to hire are special education teachers. So I spent the day in a classroom with an intensive special education teacher. She shared how she's been struggling to get her credentials just to become a teacher.
I've always wanted to be a teacher. I feel like this field and special education is just in my blood. 50% of my class is nonverbal, but I feel like the conversations we have day in and day out just warm my heart.
Tiana Andrade is a first-year intensive special education teacher in Northern California. Her time spent in the classroom with her students is just a minor part of her credentialing journey.
I have dyslexia, and I struggled throughout my whole life with education and just learning and reading and things that comes with dyslexia. I feel like since I can relate to my students, I come from more of a personal place to make them a better person.
Tiana was a student here. She will probably tell you that she did not do well on tests, but she was a fine student.
Learning didn't come easy for her. Tests didn't come easy for her. One of her counselors even told me college isn't for everybody. And I just looked at her and I said, you know, I've raised my children to think that they can do whatever they want to do as long as they put their mind to it. Despite your learning disabilities, you want to follow your dream, you follow your dream. We'll figure out how to make it happen, and you can make it happen.
In California, prospective teaching students must pass a series of state exams. These exams are similar to other tests that students have to take, like the MCAT for medical school or the bar exam for law school. Typically, students are required to pass the exams before being accepted into a credentialing program. But in Tiana's case, she says that she was accepted into her program without taking the required state exams. Troy Flint with the California School Board Association says this is an example of the state's severe teacher shortages.
Right now, about a third of the people who are entering the profession in California have what are called substandard credentials. Doesn't mean that they won't be good teachers, but it just means they haven't completed all the certification that would normally be required to enter the classroom. But because beggars can't be choosers, districts can't hold out for those who have the full credential. And so they have to hire people who are still completing that work.
For people like Tiana, they must go back and finish those state exams before they can become a fully credentialed teacher. Tiana already has her bachelor and master's degree, was a student teacher, and has taught her own class for a year. But as required by the state, she still needs to finish her exams. Exams that experts like Troy Flint say largely cover material that is unrelated to special education teachers' daily job. The exams don't account for any of the practical or tangible skills required for their teaching role.
I think a lot of people are familiar with the discussion around the ACT and the SAT and whether they're culturally biased and whether they should be used as a key component of admission for undergraduate education. There's a similar conversation going on in teaching about whether some of the standardized test exams need to be used or whether they're creating a barrier that is keeping people from entering the profession.
Special education is definitely a shortage area where you want quality candidates. For example, we have a quality candidate. She's proven herself in the classroom. She has good relationships with staff, with students, with families, and yet there are roadblocks that are being set up that aren't created by a school district.
Here in this district, we have 3 different types of special day classes, and there's the intensive needs, the moderate needs, and the mild needs classrooms, and Tiana's is an example of one of our intensive needs classrooms. We have classrooms that are not as fully staffed as we would like them to be within the district and kind of what the standards are.
Special education is one of the most difficult areas to staff because it requires such a specialized skill set and a lot of emotional intelligence in addition to the specific training that's needed to succeed. Something that districts are trying to do is to develop people from different paraprofessional or support roles who have an understanding of what's needed and get them transitioning to credentials so they can help out in special education.
Following directions, you did it all. Yeah, you did your work.
Yeah. The California Commission on Teacher Credentialing says all teachers in the state must complete a series of standardized exams. All teaching credentials in California are obtained through a 2-level process, beginning with the preliminary credential and resulting in the clear credential. School districts may also look for other related qualifications and experience.
I would love to see a special ed test. They throw the special educators in the same category as, multiple subject. Even in a 6th, 7th, 8th grade special ed class, I'm never going to teach geometry. In here, I teach kids life skills. How long are we gonna put it on for today? 2 or 3 minutes? 2 minutes? Okay. Some days there's kids in here that they have such a long weekend or a tiring weekend and they just take a nap. But it's like they're safe, they're happy, and I'm nurturing them. Another place for parents to feel like they're taken care of from 8 to 3. Good job! It's been months for us to teach this kiddo how to wash his hands, but he's getting there slowly. We're still not perfect. We still have soap on our hands sometimes, but like just being able to be like, oh my gosh, he washed his hands all by himself is so rewarding at the end.
Flint says there are many people in Tiana's situation, and she is just one example of how testing is poorly aligned to what is required in her classroom. Trying to pass those generalized tests also come with an added cost. The California Commission on Teacher Credentialing shared these numbers with us for the most basic required tests. Between testing, additional fees, and tutoring, Tiana says that she's spent a couple $1,000s.
I'm so grateful that I had like that family to back me up, because I don't think I could have done it.
I'm a single mom and I raised 4 children on my own. It's been very, very difficult, and I still have a ton of student loans to pay off for them.
Miss Tiana. I like Miss Tiana.
Coming up after the break, we meet one of Tiana's students. If you're just joining us tonight, we met a special education teacher who has really been struggling to get her credentials. She says that she spent thousands of dollars and countless hours working towards it and feels that the process has been frustrating and expensive. But the one thing that keeps her going is, as you can imagine, her students.
I like Miss Tiana.
Keegan Jones, he's just recently turned 13. He's a student here and he is in the 7th grade. He is special needs. He has tubular sclerosis and he's nonverbal. He is growing up and becoming a young man.
Lizard.
What's Lizard?
That's Lizard. This is his own sign language he uses with us.
We are really lucky because we have Tiana now, who's done an incredible job.
And she's really good at including the kids with the mainstream kids also, and bring them in different classes and participate. And it's an excellent program.
Days when Tiana is not here, if she has meetings, they notice.
Yes.
Hi, buddy. She's handled the kids amazing. She's great with her staff. She keeps us very well informed. She's so organized.
Josh, did you get a yogurt pretzel from Keegan? Oh, is it alive still? Whoa!
I feel happy. I feel happy.
Show him your smile.
He's done really well, and her curriculum is so varied and so spot on that he has a chance to explore all these different areas, whether it's music, and he's played the cello a couple times now, or the bugs, or the reading, and the talker he uses to communicate with. It's just really a great program for him, and he's really thriving at this point.
She's very caring and passionate what she does, and I feel like teachers or anyone that works with kids should do it for the kids, and that's exactly what she does.
Low 5.
It just seems very interesting to me, in areas where we have shortages, we're setting up more roadblocks instead of avenues of access.
It's disappointing. It's disappointing, and I feel for her. We have all shed so many tears with her, for her and with her. Sorry.
If that prevents her from getting her credential, it's going to be a crying shame.
Thank you.
She's doing this for this child now who's going to be an adult someday, and they can carry that through their whole life. And when I look at some of the changes that she's made with certain individuals in just 1 year, it's amazing. It'd be very sad if she wasn't able to do this anymore.
I was in this classroom as a student, and now I'm the teacher. And it's full circle 13 years later. I want to stay because it's a passionate work. It's not just like, oh, because I make a lot of money. Teachers make nothing. I know that for a fact. I'm not the only one out there that's struggling. This field is in such a high need, and there's people out there wanting to do this job. They just make it so hard to get there. Josh, let me see you. You look so cool. Find something? Let me see.
We would love to keep her, and we want to do everything we can to make that happen.
What is that? I learn so much from them because everyone has different needs. I love them.
I like Miss Tiana.
I like you too.
All right, and the California Commission on Teacher Credentialing sets the standards for the licensing and credentialing for educators. They acknowledge that the process to get credentialed can be frustrating and confusing, largely because there are just so many pathways to become a teacher. And people are coming into the profession at different times of their lives. So not to mention that, but each school district operates differently too. And COVID has just added even more challenges. So I sat down with David DeGear. He's the director of the Professional Services Division at the CTC to get more insight on the impacts that COVID has had on getting teachers into the classrooms.
First month of COVID, all the testing centers were closed. There was no way that someone could take a test. Because we needed these teachers to move on and be available for classrooms in the fall, the governor made an executive order that suspended some of the testing.
Is there a backlog of people that need to clear that?
Yes, there are thousands of candidates or now teachers who need to do that. One thing that is helpful this year is that the state budget included $24 million to pay for exams.
Now, when it comes to Tiana's case, she posed the question, why not just have a special education credentialing pathway for special education teachers? Here's what the CTC had to say.
Not a content test for special education. State statute actually allows candidates for special education to choose from any of our credential areas. So they could demonstrate their subject matter competence in multiple subject, which is the elementary areas, or in one of the single subjects, which is the middle and high school subjects. And the reason for this is that special education teachers are working with their students on content, and it could be any content.
And I do want to note that the CTC says that individual education plans for students with disabilities are becoming more academic focused. In the past, it was about social skills and job skills, but now there's really a push to have students with disabilities also learning the academic standards as well.